Introducing a completely redesigned experience that you can sense. And that senses you. The new Dell Latitude laptops bring your work closer to you.
Tonight, police use force to dismantle the ongoing blockade at the docks. We're live to Port Melbourne.
Grave robbers target a notorious crime family in a sick underworld crypt raid.
The PM's tax shake-up, a boost for low to middle income earners, but not everyone will be happy.
Breaking news on the tragic death of a baby boy near Ballarat.
Exclusive, a Jetstar plane's runway collision with an airport worker's ute.
And a wheelchair tennis champ on a mission to become an Australian Open ball kid.
This is Melbourne's 9 News with Alicia Loxley and Tom Steinfort.
Good evening. First tonight, breaking news from Port Melbourne, where a pro-Palestine blockade has turned violent.
A few moments ago, police and demonstrators clashed. Mimi Becker is following this unfolding situation for us. Mimi, just take us through what's happening now.
Tom, police have been closing in on these protesters for the past hour or so. In the last 10 minutes, we did see things get heated where the public order response unit did use pepper spray on some of these protesters. They have managed to split up the group into two, and the protesters have now come down towards Port Melbourne Beach. This blockade started 4 days ago. It's been going for 4 days since Friday, and they're protesting an Israeli-owned cargo ship that has docked at the port. They're trying to prevent it from being able to unload. As a process of this, more than 100 workers have been stood down without pay. This protest was planned to go from 5 till 7. Things were going peacefully, but as it goes on, police are moving in with members of horseback as well as the public order response unit here, and they will continue to manage this situation as they try and move people on. We haven't seen any arrests at this stage. Tom and Alicia.
Very active situation there, Mimi. Thank you.
A Mini Cooper is tonight at the centre of an underworld investigation into 2 men accused of ransacking the grave of convicted killer George Moroggy's sister.
Meshel Moroggy's casket was dragged from its Preston Cemetery crypt and her body robbed and dumped. Laura Turner reports.
6 months since a sickening crime, police set up inside the Preston Cemetery, determined to find out who robbed the crypt of Meshel Moroggy, sister to drug kingpin and killer George Moroggy. The men wearing gas masks attempted to drag her casket and body out of the mausoleum. They took off with her diamond ring after failing to remove her body when a lift malfunctioned, possibly escaping in a blue Mini Cooper, a clue that's baffled even the most experienced investigators.
They've gone there with a mini miner. Well, how does that then support the fact of taking the body away?
Police made a public plea for help last year, hoping to appeal to the conscience of the criminal world.
They've managed to break a glass window into the coffin and removed a diamond ring, we believe, of substantial value. We specifically ask those who are outraged within the criminal fraternity to pass that information on.
Today, they used an information caravan to plead for witnesses, but couldn't draw a crowd.
Given the notoriety and the fear factor from these crime gangs, I would be very surprised if they get anything coming to see them. I think more likely it'd be an anonymous phone call.
One theory is that this was an underworld attack from an opposing crime gang trying to rattle Meshelin's brother George.
You would be going to all the criminal associates and really going through them like a dose of salts with warrants, search warrants, and continuing to go on there until you get that weak link.
Laura Turner, 9 News.
Low and middle income workers will be given a cash boost from July 1 as the Albanese government pushes ahead with a significant shake-up of Australia's tax system.
But high earners will be disappointed. They'll still receive a cut, but it won't be as high as previously promised. Here's Charles Cratcher.
G'day. The Prime Minister last week touring high vis with tradies of the future.
Good paid, secure. that good pay is about to get better. These are the Stage 3 tax rates due to start in July. 9 News understands the plan to be put before Cabinet would lower the top tax bracket to $180,000, saving $3.6 billion per year, with the money saved to be redistributed to lower income earners, possibly through an increase to the tax-free threshold.
If we can find ways to put extra dollars in people's pockets, particularly those lower middle income earners who are doing it tough, then we're prepared to do so.
If passed by Cabinet tomorrow, it would be unveiled to Labor MPs in a special cost of living caucus on Wednesday, before the Prime Minister addresses the National Press Club on Thursday.
I think it'll be a really good speech, but I don't want to steal his thunder.
The change would mean people earning over $200,000 a year would receive a $6,075 tax cut instead of $9,075. Someone on $90,000, currently looking at $1,125, would instead get closer to $1,400. Ultimately, all taxpayers will get a cut.
I think the fact that we brought this caucus meeting on this week demonstrates that for the government as well, it's the number one issue that we're going to be dealing with this year.
The plan won't change the budget bottom line, but should decrease any pressure on inflation. The original Stage 3 tax cuts have been to 2 elections. These changes would only need to pass the Parliament. Labor would be relying on the promise of more money for more people over vows to keep the cuts as they stood. Energy bills will also be a focus, with 2 new deals struck to secure more gas.
If you had a supply crunch, if you had a shortage, then it's obviously going to put pressure on the system and on prices.
Charles Croucher, 9 News.
And let's go live now to Charles Croucher in Canberra. Charles, do you think this will be seen as a broken promise?
Evening, Tom. Well, that's a question that voters may ultimately decide at the next election, but at best the language has been tricky. These are still tax cuts, the total value is the same, but tonight Stage 3 has a Labor lens, and Jim Chalmers will get to advocate publicly what he's been saying privately for months. Labor is daring Peter Dutton to side with the highest earners and stand in the way of every taxpayer receiving more money in every pay packet. Broken promise or not, it is a chance for the government to set the agenda after months of playing defence politically and playing word games over Stage 3. Finally, tonight, it's on Labor's terms.
Political editor Charles Croucher there, thank you.
The death of a baby boy who was found unresponsive inside his home near Ballarat isn't being treated as suspicious. Neighbours became concerned for Chance Ford's safety after an argument broke out between his parents on Saturday night. The 2-month-old was located in the living room, and despite attempts to revive him, he couldn't be saved. An autopsy today revealed he died of natural causes. Well, sport and politics have collided again after cricket chiefs waded into the Australia Day debate. They've drawn criticism from across the country for deciding not to use the phrase during Friday's test at the Gabba. Jane Azzopardi has more.
For many years, we watched our national sport on our National Day.
Come on, Aussie, come on. The fans were busy celebrating Australia Day.
But times have changed.
I don't think it's up to sporting codes to set the moral compass of this country.
This January 26, Australia will meet the West Indies on day 2 of the Gabba Test, but the phrase Australia Day will not be uttered.
Do you support Cricket Australia's decision to ditch the Australia Day terminology?
Look out.
Do you support that decision?
Silence from our cricketers, a statement from Cricket Australia. January 26 is a difficult day for many people, especially many Indigenous Australians. So there's a balance in that we're playing cricket, but also want to acknowledge that the day means different things to different people.
I think they should revisit it. I hope they do. And I know I'll be celebrating Australia Day.
At the Australian Open, they will play the national anthem before the men's semi-final on Friday, while the A-League has renamed January 26 altogether. For the last decade, its annual match between Melbourne Victory and Sydney FC has been called the Unite Multicultural Match. As Woolworths discovered last week, any decision made around Australia Day is bound to attract controversy. The government insists there are no plans to change our National Day, leaving the PM to plead for an end to the annual debate.
We need to stop looking for areas in which we can be outraged. We need to come together. Look, people will go to the cricket.
Jane Azzopardi, 9 News.
3 people are in custody over a stabbing death at a Hampton East house known for wild parties. The victim, Sammy Baker, is being remembered as an intelligent man who moved to Melbourne from South Sudan. Crime reporter Gillian Lantouris.
From the air to the ground, police search for a murder weapon after a party at a Hampton East home takes a deadly turn. Guest Sammy Baker was stabbed at the Wickham Road address just before 4 o'clock yesterday afternoon.
Trying to keep it peaceful is a struggle for me.
The 33-year-old was taken to the Alfred Hospital but died shortly after.
It's really concerning. I've got 3 young children.
Friends have told 9 News Sammy was an insurance worker who lived with his mother in Ashburton and moved to Melbourne from South Sudan.
It's heartbreaking for the parent who lose their child.
Neighbours say in the past 6 months, the home has been a venue for rowdy parties.
It was kind of spread out from Friday through to Monday. Loud gatherings, I suppose, so called the police a couple of times.
2 men and a woman were arrested at the home yesterday, including a 27-year-old resident. Drug paraphernalia and empty bottles of alcohol can be seen strewn across the living room. That will all form part of the homicide investigation. The 33-year-old is the second man to be killed in Hampton East in less than 3 weeks, after local Spiros Philides was allegedly stabbed to death by a stranger just 300 metres up the road.
It's a community, 2 stabbings like that. You've got to be concerned, absolutely.
I feel strongly that we need to support people in our area so that these sorts of things don't happen.
Gillian Lantouris, 9 News.
Delays for passengers flying out of Sydney today after an airport worker's ute smashed into the engine of a Jetstar flight. As James Wilson reports, the tarmac mishap caused more than $500,000 worth of damage.
There's bad days at work and then there's this. An airport security ute wedged underneath the engine of a Jetstar Airbus A320. The driver crashing into the plane on the tarmac around 5:30 this morning as it was being towed to its gate. He was taken to a Sydney hospital with minor injuries.
Sadly, these incidents become serious accidents and fatal accidents. Quite a number of people have lost their lives on the tarmac.
Luckily, there were no passengers on the aircraft. Both the ute and the plane were eventually towed away, facing significant repairs.
On average, cost approximately $500,000 every time we have an accident on a tarmac.
Jetstar flight JQ760 was due to depart to Adelaide at 6:40 this morning. That service was obviously cancelled, with passengers forced to wait hours to be put onto later flights. They eventually arrived at their destination, oblivious to the extent of the incident.
They didn't give us all the details, they just said there was an accident.
A ute crashed into that plane. What do you think about that?
I'm glad I wasn't on it.
You'd rather get here safely than not get here at all.
In total, 6 Jetstar flights to and from Sydney were scrapped due to the crash.
I was really lucky because I got onto the next flight to Adelaide, but I know some other people were not as lucky and they had to wait 6 hours at Sydney Airport.
Contractor Certus Security was unable to say how its driver made such a big blunder. At Mascot, James Wilson, 9 News.
Victoria's march towards an Indigenous treaty has stumbled. John Pizzuto today confirmed the coalition will no longer support the idea after the voice was rejected. State political reporter Mark Santomartino explains.
They voted to establish Victoria's treaty authority.
The Liberal and National parties absolutely support this legislation,
but will no longer support its goal.
It is urgent and a priority to address closing the gap, but there are different ways to do it.
John Pizzuto came clean on the coalition's call months after deciding his party could no longer support a treaty process, citing concerns over housing delays, separate legal systems and the divisive failure that was the voice referendum.
I don't want Victorians to have to go through that again.
This is a giant U-turn from John Pizzuto.
It was a backflip that caught Victoria's first People's Assembly by surprise.
To my view, it's through treaty that we can have those conversations and make progress.
If they say they were blindsided last night, they were not listening and not taking seriously the things that I've raised with them continually over the last 6 months.
This is a gutless decision by the Liberals and Nationals that shows us once again that they don't matter in Victoria anymore.
Negotiating treaty hasn't begun, but it's not far off. As a result, we don't know exactly what will be in it or what it may affect. But with the numbers in Parliament as is, the support of the coalition actually isn't critical to making changes in future.
We are going to continue to move forward. And we have great confidence that we can continue to pursue treaty making.
We can't really see a scenario where we agree with Jacinta Allen on the possibility of reparations.
Mark Santomartino, 9 News.
For a select group of lucky young Aussies, becoming a ball kid is one of the most exciting parts of the Australian Open. 11-year-old Sonny Renison is aiming to be the first to do it in a wheelchair, thanks to a clever new device. Nathan Curry met him.
Heading out to take his spot on court is Sonny Renison. He's already one of the world's best junior wheelchair players. Now he can be a ball kid too, thanks to a new device.
So push, push, push. I go in, pick it up easy as that, and then another one. And then to get the balls out, I literally just slide my fingers through these holes and I can get it out just like that, easy.
The Melbourne rising star helped MasterCard design it, even suggesting changes.
Sonny's been awesome. He's been fantastic to work with. He's a real leader and I'm sure he'll go a long way in the future.
The 11-year-old was put to the test today in a one-set exhibition match in front of Aussie greats Alicia and Heath Davidson.
We've got professional athletes in wheelchairs playing at Grand Slams and I'm like, why can't we have one in a wheelchair being a ball kid?
The ball kids are probably one of the most important cogs in a tournament, in an event, and as players we rely on them so much, and particularly when they have great skills but great tennis knowledge. Sonny has all of that.
Sonny's ticked off a big milestone today. Now the plan is to do it in a real match and then one day even a Grand Slam. He was actually offered the chance to debut at the Kooyong Classic, but it clashed with his playing schedule. The tournament's director has told 9 News they'll give him the same opportunity next year. Make no mistake, Sonny Renison is one to watch.
Hopefully I'll be able to ball kid on one of the bigger courts, but I'm going to start off small, just work my way up there.
Nathan Curry, 9 News.
A star on the rise, that is for sure. All right, let's go to Melbourne Park now for a look at tonight's sport, and it is good evening to Tony Jones.
Thanks, guys. Good evening. Well, all eyes, of course, on Rod Laver Arena tonight as Spanish sensation Carlos Alcaraz faces off against a fairly tricky threat for a place in the Australian Open quarterfinals. And while Novak Djokovic has already earned a spot there, the world number one won't be playing in the bright lights. We'll preview both of those contests soon. Also tonight, the highlights from another dramatic day with more of the women's top seeds bowing out. Also tonight, the Bulldogs clear the air on a big star's injury concern. Will Bukowski hits back after his latest concussion scare. And the Super Bowl champions spread the love while breaking Buffalo hearts yet again. That's all coming up. We'll be joined live by Jelena Dokic. That's in sport, Alicia.
Look forward to that, Tony. We will come back to you very soon. Well, when 9 News Melbourne returns, speeding hoons limp away from a crash in Cheltenham, their luxury car flattening a tree.
Republican challenger Ron DeSantis drops out, endorsing Donald Trump for president.
Plus, a grateful fisherman reunited with the bystanders who saved his life after falling in.
A Cheltenham business owner has been stunned after security cameras captured the moment a high-powered black BMW M3 smashed into a tree outside his warehouse. The impact of the collision caused the vehicle to flip onto its roof, sending debris flying across the road.
An Australian first inquiry into women's pain will be launched by the state government, shining a spotlight on female health issues. It follows a landmark survey which found 2 in 5 Victorian women live with chronic pain.
We're giving women's health the focus and the funding that it deserves, and we also know that when you support women's health, you're supporting the health of all Victorians.
It also aims to empower more women to talk about their health.
The race for the Republican presidential nomination is down to 2 after former favourite Ron DeSantis dropped out. His withdrawal came before a crucial primary which could cement Donald Trump as the party's candidate. Jonathan Kersley has the latest.
The Republican race for the presidency is down to 2.
If we don't have a clear path to victory, accordingly, I am today suspending my campaign.
Florida's Governor Ron DeSantis bailing out 2 days before the New Hampshire primary.
Nobody worked harder, and we left it all out on the field.
The only player on the field left to tackle Donald Trump is former UN Ambassador Nikki Haley.
May the best woman win.
Ron DeSantis had fallen victim to the Trump show.
I haven't even mentioned the name of Ron DeSanctimonious yet. We hit him hard. By the time he joined the campaign, he was pretty much decapitated.
Today, campaigning in New Hampshire, the former president offered this.
Will I be using the name Ron DeSanctimonious? I said, that name is officially retired.
While his now former rival gave him his support.
Trump is superior to the current incumbent, Joe Biden. That is clear.
The Florida governor was touted as a serious challenger, but his run started with a launch meltdown.
We've got so many people here that I think we are kind of melting the servers.
His campaign was criticised as clumsy and awkward. There were leaks. It was doomed from the start. Staff were doing puzzles instead of fundraising. And then came mockery.
I want to present to you this participation trophy.
A second placing in Iowa, not enough to keep his campaign going. So now it's down to Donald Trump and Nikki Haley. For the former president, a comfortable win here in New Hampshire would have the Republican race on a road to a coronation rather than a contest.
And they have not shown us 1 ounce of vision for the future. Nothing.
It might only be January, but a presidential rematch could be a step closer.
Send them a signal that we are coming this November.
In New Hampshire, Jonathan Kersley, 9 News.
Israel's Gaza offensive has now claimed more than 25,000 lives. That's according to the Hamas-run health ministry. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, meanwhile, has again rejected the idea of creating a Palestinian state. A great-grandfather has thanked 3 men who saved his life after he tumbled off Portsea Pier and into the bay.
Waterlogged for close to an hour, a quick-thinking surfer and 2 police officers joined forces to bring John Mirabelli back to dry land. Stephanie Anderson has the story.
Hey, bring it in.
6 weeks ago, these 4 men were strangers. Now they're forever bonded by an extraordinary rescue effort.
If it was not for you, I would not be alive.
And John Mirabelli isn't exaggerating. He was fishing off Portsea Pier last month when he lost his footing and fell in.
I thought I was gone. Because when I fall, I went straight down.
Wearing gumboots and a coat, the 88-year-old was waterlogged and clinging to a slippery pylon when local surfer Ben Buxton walked by.
I looked over and I saw John holding onto a little wire, and the look on his face was kind of terrifying because he appeared to only have a few minutes left until he had to let go of the wires.
Remembering an abandoned board on a nearby beach, Ben made a run for it.
I just thought if I can get the board out to where John is, then he's possibly got a chance.
As he paddled, police officers Oliver Waters and Adam Gardner arrived. A call for help had come through to 000.
The plan was for me to go in, but by the time we got to the end of the pier, I looked to my right and Ollie's already in his jocks and his undergarment.
Between them, Ben and Oliver convinced John to hold onto the board and for close to 20 minutes floated him around the pier to where the great-grandfather could safely climb up a smaller ladder.
In that time, we were just talking to John to try to get him relaxed, and he kept talking about the calamari that he had to let go when he'd fallen into the pier.
Back on solid ground, John was off to hospital while his rescuers dried off. Today's reunion, an unexpected silver lining from the scariest of circumstances.
It's special for us. We really appreciate the chance to get to catch up with John again, and he's a lovely man.
You could be my kids, my grandkids, and part of the family. Thank you very much.
Now, John's been fishing this spot for decades, so despite the drama, he's not giving it up. In fact, he's already been back a couple of times, still searching for the calamari that got away that day. That calamari's got a second chance too.
Next time I'll fix him up, if it's the same one.
Stephanie Anderson, 9 News.
The calamari of Portsea, better watch out. John's coming back. It is time now to check in with Livinia Nixon at Melbourne Park. And Livo, I hear it's champagne o'clock there.
Oh, well, not for me, unfortunately, Tom. I have to pretend that I'm a professional. However, the 5 Hide 6 Champagne Bar is definitely the bubbliest place here at Melbourne Park. And I'm joined by Piper's CEO, Benoit Kohler. Bonsoir, Benoit.
Bonsoir, Livinia.
I wanted to say that all day. Now, you've been a huge supporter of the Australian Open, 6 years as the official champagne partner.
Indeed, it's the 6th year of Piper Hide 6 to bring a little bit of the celebration that champagne is all about here at the Australian Open. To have the opportunity to bring a little bit of the Parisian glamour, a little bit of this excitement on site in the most amazing Grand Slam tournament is a pleasure. And to be fair, to have the opportunity for everyone on site to have access to this, open a bottle of Piper Hide 6 with their friends, with their family, and elevate the experience, there's no better way to enjoy champagne and to enjoy the tennis.
Because all you need is a ground pass and then come straight in. And I've got to warn you, the next 2 days are a little bit warm. Do you serve the champagne differently?
Well, you know,
a little bit more chilled?
To be fair, If I were to say any time of the day, at any time of the year, is a perfect time for a glass of Piper Heidsieck.
I absolutely agree, Benoit. Thank you so much. We will have a cork-popping forecast for tomorrow later in the bulletin. Alicia and Tom.
Thank you very much, Livo. Coming up for you at home, a dangerous tram surfing stunt. 3 teenagers risk their lives on Elizabeth Street.
Plus the life and crimes of disgraced cop Roger Rogerson, dead at 83.
And just months after treatment for breast cancer, another health shock for Fergie.
9 News, brought to you by Australia's #1 selling vehicle, Ford Ranger.
Clinging to the back of a tram in the city, 3 young thrill seekers have been widely criticised for their dangerous stunt. The teenagers were filmed hanging onto the Route 19 service to Coburg North as it headed up Elizabeth Street. Police are urging anyone who knows the boys to come forward.
Roger Rogerson, the infamous corrupt New South Wales cop and convicted murderer, has died. As Damien Ryan explains, the disgraced detective's demise marks the end of a dark chapter.
Roger Rogerson, crooked cop, the dodger, disgraced former New South Wales detective. But when the end came, there was no name. In a brief statement, Corrective Services announced an 83-year-old inmate has died at Prince of Wales Hospital on Sunday, 21 January 2024. Rogerson, unlikely to be missed, but never forgotten.
There are people who believe that I'm the most corrupt, wicked, diabolical person in the world. I can never change their mind.
And he was right. Former police officer and author Duncan McNabb.
I haven't seen a copper of his calibre, for all the wrong reasons, anywhere.
In the early years of Rogerson's career, he was a pin-up. Decorated for locking up crooks, he had high expectations.
This bloke could be the head of the CIB someday, or maybe even commissioner.
But his fearsome reputation brought him undone. Rogerson shooting dead 3 people in the line of duty. Notorious criminals became partners in crime. Nettie Smith and Graham Henry. The latter today telling 9 News, Rogerson was charismatic and charming, but he didn't have much of a conscience. He helped me and then he on me. In 2014, CCTV captured the murder of drug dealer Jamie Gow.
Did you kill Jamie Gow?
Solicitor, I'm saying nothing.
A life sentence became a death sentence. The 83-year-old suffered a brain aneurysm last week and passed away last night. Condolences have been few and far between. Damien Ryan, 9 News.
Bags of frozen shrimp have become the unlikely cover for a suspected drug operation in New York. A traveller was arrested at John F. Kennedy International Airport accused of smuggling more than 18 kilograms of cocaine amongst the seafood.
Queen Mary and King Frederick have attended a church service to celebrate their new royal roles. It's been a week since Frederick was proclaimed king and his 83-year-old mother abdicated the Danish throne. The event in the country's second largest city was their first outside the capital, Copenhagen.
Another royal health blow tonight, this time for Sarah Ferguson, who's been diagnosed with skin cancer. The melanoma was found while the Duchess of York was having breast cancer treatment. More from Edward Godfrey.
Sarah Ferguson on Christmas Day. A rare inclusion in the royal family's Christmas celebrations at Sandringham. In good spirits, joking with well wishes.
Yeah.
But now, another health scare for the Duchess of York, diagnosed with malignant melanoma after having several moles removed.
More tests are being carried out just to see if the cancer has spread.
It's been a challenging time for Fergie, who still lives with former husband Prince Andrew. Just 6 months ago, the 64-year-old was tested for breast cancer and underwent a mastectomy as well as reconstructive surgery, something she opened up on in December.
I'm really proud of it. I feel that my mastectomy is like a badge of office.
That's when she had moles removed and tested. She joins the Princess of Wales and the King, dealing with significant health matters. Kate is at a London hospital recovering from abdominal surgery and isn't expected to take part in official engagements until April. And King Charles will this week have a procedure for an enlarged prostate.
They've made it very clear that in the King's case, and indeed the case of the Princess of Wales, that none of those cases are cancerous, which is obviously good news.
In London, Edward Godfrey, 9 News.
Still ahead in 9 News, global markets hit record highs. Finance editor Chris Kohler will explain why.
Also, a red light runner evades police, the man dumping his car in Melbourne's southeast.
Plus, the nonnas whipping up Italian feasts for a few lucky Melburnians. man has fled on foot following a dramatic police chase in Melbourne's southeast. A white Holden Commodore was spotted running a red light and driving erratically in Clyde North. The car was later found burnt out along Tuckers Road.
Record highs are being smashed on markets around the world, but analysts say prices might have gone too far, particularly for Commonwealth Bank shares. Finance editor Chris Kohler.
Investors all over the world are pretty sure central banks will start cutting interest rates this year, so they're jumping into shares and pushing prices higher. Wall Street's S&P 500 hit a record high on Friday night, with Microsoft, Nvidia and Meta all at their highest levels ever. Global markets, including Australia's, tend to follow the US, so the ASX is also within reach of all-time highs. Today it gained another 0.75%. Speaking of record highs, Commonwealth Bank is above $114 for the first time. But it's interesting to see that almost all major analysts recommend selling shares in the bank. They say it's become too expensive. And the Australian dollar topped 66 US cents for the first time in a week before cooling off. It's also buying 60 euro cents.
Nonnas are known for their heartfelt cooking, and now there's a chance to have one prepare an Italian feast for you in your own kitchen. And as Alan Raskell discovered, there's a secret ingredient in all their dishes.
Nonna delivered to your door. Beep, beep. An authentic Italian nonna to cook an authentic Italian meal in your own home. Grandmother of 8, Anna Rosa Pascuzzo, one of the Italian nonnas taking part.
So we're going to chop some onion.
So Anna Rosa, what are you cooking up here?
Oh, we're going to do a lovely vegetarian sauce with eggplants, tomato, spring onions, mushrooms.
It's all part of a competition being run by an Italian lager brand, the chance to win one of 3 three-course meals cooked by Nonna in your kitchen for you and 4 friends. That's embracing everything Italian.
It absolutely is, and what better culture to embrace, the Bella Vita. You can't ask for more.
And the result? Bellissimo. What's the secret to Italian cooking?
Love.
Lots of love.
Lots of love, lots of love. That's all it's all about.
So now's your chance to legitimately say it's just like Nonna used to make, because Nonna actually made it. And all the additional Nonna love is an added bonus. Alan Raskell, 9 News.
It's the full service. All right, let's head back to Melbourne Park now for all of the day's sport with Tony Jones.
Yeah, thanks for that. I'm not entirely sure Nonna knew what to make of all that, but anyway, she'll work it out at some point, I'm sure. Anyway, here to tennis while Carlos Alcaraz prepares for prime time. The Joker has been relegated to a day session again. The great Jelena Dokic will join us next to preview what's ahead. Also coming up tonight, while the Demons' dream is over, there is a silver lining. A big bomber hits another hurdle in the race for round 1, and Pekovski's powerful response to yet another harsh blow.
Incredibly fun, remarkably functional, and effortlessly stylish. Introducing the all-new Ford Puma. A compact SUV that really packs a punch. Looking good has never been this easy. Secure yours today. The all-new Ford Puma. Effortlessly stylish.
Welcome back to Melbourne Park, where the superstars of men's tennis are certainly showing their class, with Daniil Medvedev's 4th round victory ensuring the top 5 seeds all remain in the hunt for the men's title. A pair of Ukrainians were in the thick of the action on the women's side, but the outcomes were bittersweet. More from Braden Ingram.
Grand Slam history for Portugal, with Nuno Borges the first player to reach the Australian Open Final 16. But making the quarters would be a giant ask.
Beautiful winner from Medvedev.
World number 3, Daniil Medvedev, proved the stronger hand in the opening 2 sets before a surprising hiccup.
2 set points. And ace to close it out.
He quickly steadied the ship, booking a date with Hubert Hurkacz. Despair for Ukrainian star Alina Svitolina.
But you can see there the little bend forward. And
the 19th seed forced to retire just 3 games into her 4th round encounter with Linda Noskova, leaving the court in tears.
An absolute heartbreaker for
Svitolina's countrywoman Diana Yastremska had her own scare, but against 2-time champ Victoria Azarenka never stopped fighting.
Oh, what an unbelievable...
The 23-year-old qualifier secured the first set before storming back from 3-love down in the second to reach a career-first quarterfinal.
My heart, I feel it's like going to jump out of my body.
Last night, the entire nation was willing Alex de Minaur over the line.
He got it. Oh, yeah. Around the net.
He was on the brink of the final 8 after taking a 2-1 lead, but Russian Andrei Rublev had other ideas. His pure power hitting destroyed de Minaur's 6-love in the deciding set. The Aussie devastated.
Not a match that I thought I lost physically. It was just that the racket was taken out of my hand.
The result dropping him back outside the world's top 10. Braden Ingram, 9 News.
All right, joining us now is Nine commentator and former world number 4, Jelena Dokic. Let's talk about Novak Djokovic. Again during the daylight hours as opposed to the nighttime prime time.
Oh, look, I think he'll be used to it. I think at this point he's just so focused on getting that 11th Australian Open and 25th Grand Slam title. So, yes, maybe we're not used to seeing him play during the day often, but he's fine with it. He played in the day the other day, even though it was raining, so we closed the roof, and he'll have, bigger things to worry about than that.
I'm pretty sure if he really wanted to play at night, Novak would want to play at night.
Listen, if you say so. I don't know. Do you have some insight? I don't know.
Well, I did bump into him a little earlier, Jelena, and he said if Jelena does query it, then I'm more than happy.
No, but listen, we've got Sinner and Rublev in the evening session, and such a big match, and also to get to know, I think, Yannick Sinner. This is the next generation together with Carlos Alcaraz, so we've got a great match on.
And just on Carlos Alcaraz, a quick word on him, because he's looking good, isn't he?
He sure is. Well, world number 2, 20 years of age, and he's already a 2-time Grand Slam champion. He's looking good up against Kecmanovic. They played an epic match in Miami a few years ago, and Kecmanovic had these opportunities. Just looking at him, just getting some strapping done there on his ankles, but I'm sure he'll be fine for today. That's just a few niggles here and there maybe, and some prep in the Grand Slams, which is normal.
Now, how are you? Because on our morning show this morning, you tasted Vegemite for the first time. Is it okay?
Amazing. I can't believe I haven't tried it earlier, and people used to tell me, it's an acquired taste, but thanks to you and Todd, that's now my go-to snack and what keeps me going during these long days and nights. So thank you, TJ.
All right, thank you, Jelena. We're here to help. All right, you enjoy the night.
Thank you, I will.
Thank you, Jelena Dokic joining us there. To footy now, and the Western Bulldogs, who Jelena supports, have moved to alleviate fears surrounding the health of Tim English. The news is positive for the ruckman, which is good, Jelena, despite concerns he was suffering the effects of concussion. Nat Yanides explains.
Relief for the Bulldogs and Tim English, having been forced to avoid contact drills after suffering migraine-related symptoms late last year. The club today revealed English has been cleared of concussion. The Dogs say, as he has suffered concussion in the past, the club wanted to be thorough and diligent in Tim's management and engaged medical specialists. There were genuine concerns surrounding the ruckman's well-being, as Captain Marcus Bontempelli revealed to 9 News last night.
I know he had a pretty in-depth assessment the other day from a concussion perspective, which I think all went pretty well.
English is expected to return to full training next week. Dual Brownlow medalist Dustin Martin trained with Richmond's rehab group today after rolling his ankle in training last week. The club says the issue is minor. There was one man fans desperately wanted to see at the hangar. But there's no guarantee Sam Draper will be ready to go come round 1.
I think they're taking their time with him. Whether it's round 1, round 2 or round 6, it doesn't really matter. We don't want him to kind of be in and out of the team with injuries.
Draper is yet to return to full training after having groin surgery, leaving recruit Todd Goldstein to lead the ruck.
He might be on the older end of the spectrum, but there's no denying, he's here to play.
Braden Maynard is set to resume full training with Collingwood in the coming weeks following post-season shoulder surgery. Jamie Elliott, Jack Crisp and Brodie Myercheck all missed this morning's session after testing positive for COVID. Nat Yanides, 9 News.
OK, Chief Football reporter Tom Morris joins us live now. And Tom, you got details on what might be considered the most prized job in footy.
This is the most attractive job in footy, according to a couple of list bosses I spoke to today. Whoever gets this job will be charged with rebuilding West Coast list from the ground up with a long-term vision. And these are the people that are in the mix at the moment. So Adrian Caruso heads up recruiting at the Giants. He's highly regarded. Chris Keane, he's a data and analytics guru at the Swans. He's already worked alongside Don Pike at Sydney. Matthew Clark, he's a recruiting manager at Richmond, also highly regarded. And Binuk Kuduthwaku currently lives in the USA and works for Duke Football, but has long been an influential list figure at Adelaide. And the Eagles like all of these people as the process starts to take shape. Now, meanwhile, more off-field change I expect from a recruiting and list management perspective at the Swans, Geelong, St Kilda and Hawthorn as the merry-go-round gathers pace. But, Tony, all eyes are on West Coast and this Plum job.
Yeah, Plum, and certainly a challenge. Right, Tom Morris reporting live there. Well, cricketer Will Pucovski has returned to the crease despite copping another nasty knock while batting for Victoria. The 25-year-old was struck in the helmet during a second 11 match against South Australia, retiring an over later after experiencing dizziness. But Pucovski was soon back in the nets, having passed a concussion test, and would go on to add another 46 runs to his total before being dismissed for 89. Meanwhile, Travis Head has tested positive for COVID ahead of Thursday's second test in Brisbane, but Usman Khawaja is ticked off to play, cleared of any delayed concussion symptoms by Australian doctors. And Kansas City's Super Bowl defence remains very much alive, with Travis Kelce guiding the Chiefs into the final four of the NFL playoffs over arch-foes Buffalo. Kelce's star girlfriend Taylor Swift and older brother Jackson were in the thick of the celebrations, leaving Bills fans with an all-too-familiar heartbreak after their side missed a kick to level the game.
44 yards, Bass. No, he doesn't make it. Wide right. Wow. The two most dreaded words in Buffalo.
In Detroit, the fairy tale continues as the Lions won back-to-back playoff games for the first time in 67 years, defeating Tampa Bay 31-23. So there you go, guys. What a revelation for Yelena Dockage today, tasting Vegemite for the first time and finding out she barracks for the Western Bulldogs.
Questionable taste on both fronts there, some might say.
Yes.
Very good, Tony. Thank you. Let's head across now to Livinia. And Livinia, it is set to warm up again tomorrow.
It is, Tom. There'll be some thirsty customers here, no doubt. I'll have the forecast for a summer's day that is worth celebrating next.
Switch on a Daikin Alira X split system with advanced streamer technology to remove more than 99% of harmful indoor air pollutants and surround yourself with cleaner air this summer. Daikin, perfecting the air.
Hello again from Melbourne Park. If you fancy a little taste of France, both its atmosphere and its beloved tipple, the Piper High 6 Champagne Bar awaits. Celebrating its 6th year as the official champagne of the Australian Open, it's expecting to pour 50,000 glasses of bubbly by Sunday. The summer sunshine was worth celebrating today. It brightened up another cooler than average Melbourne day. City peaked at just 20.2. Geelong did ever so slightly better with a top of 20.3. The mercury peaked in the low 20s right across southern parts of the state, but it's been a little warmer through the north with maximums in the high 20s and low 30s. But severe weather is expected in the country's north as Queensland braces for a tropical cyclone. It could be as strong as a Category 3 system when it makes landfall, most likely on Thursday. The coastal area between Ayr and St Lawrence is currently under a cyclone watch. Tomorrow, Adelaide is in for an absolute scorcher. It's forecast to reach 41 degrees. It'll be a warmer day here in Victoria for all but Gippsland. The onshore winds will keep maximums there in the low to mid-20s, but it'll reach the high 20s and low 30s through the southwest and the low to mid-30s across most eastern districts. After another cool night, it'll be a warmer day across Melbourne. Epping, Essendon, Scoresby and Tullamarine are heading for 30, the high 20s for most other spots. Geelong's forecast to reach 26. And after an overnight low of 14, the city is expected to warm up to 29. Up to 33 degrees on Wednesday with strong northerly winds in the morning, but they should ease before play starts here. 26 degrees on Thursday with only light showers expected, up to 3 millimetres. Mild and dry conditions for an Australia Day barbecue, partly cloudy and 23. Same again for Saturday, which is perfect for the women's final. 26 on Sunday, and then heating up again next Monday, sunny and 33. And I'm guessing by then there'll be a lot more champagne corks popped, Alicia and Tom.
Very nice work, Lavinia. Thank you. And that is 9 News for this Monday.
We hope you have a great evening. For now, good night.